All right. So, you know, anytime you get to a new jail, new prison, I mean, one thing that, I'd been told as a young convict, going to the feds for the first time, because I mean, it's intimidating when you're not used to being in jail. Well, I mean, I've been to county jail plenty of times before I caught my Fed case. This was back in 2008, 2009 era. I was like 23. And, the weird thing about going to the feds is when you go to like one of these detention centers, MDCLA, MCC Chicago, MDC Brooklyn, um, they all have the MDC Miami or whatever. They all have the same layouts and they look like prisons, 2-man cells, day rooms. If you Google federal prison riots on, or if you look it up on the YouTube search, especially the Atwater one, where the Southsiders are going at it with the cops, you can see exactly what all federal, um, facilities, at least the modern ones, what they look like. The older joints like USP Lompoc, all those old pens, of course, have like an older feel. Shawshank. Well, life wasn't easy for Dandy to fry. Sorry, every time I get an excuse to do that, I have to. Fucking love that movie. It's good. Just at the end, he just fucking gets away on the beach. Where is it? They're in San. Someone will comment. Doesn't matter. Some nice part of Mexico. God. And then I get stuck. Like, oh fuck, what is it? What was it? Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's intimidating being thrown into what looks like a classic prison setting. And then on top of that, it's violent at MDCLA. It's violent as fuck. You're with, throughout the years, the quality of inmates has gone down substantially. Now it's RICOs, conspiracies, low-level junkies, gang members, people like me, really. I mean, shit, I don't think I deserve to be federal property like that. I mean, state case, sure, but I wasn't doing it like that. Point is when I first went to prison, you always hear all the cliche stuff. Oh, oh, when you get in there, man, take off on the biggest, baddest motherfucker. Then you won't get raped by Bubba. You watch like, CSI and they have like plot lines like that, and you're like, oh my God, that must be how it is. I'm sure there's people getting raped. There's probably a rapist in prison named Bubba. Probably has Bubba blasted in Old English on his back. He's just embracing it, He like jokes about it with his friends. He's like, yeah, butt fucked a white boy today. Fuck that fool. Oh, there goes Bubba. Bubba just doing his shit. But when you get to prison, you don't just go take off on the biggest guy. Don't do that. Do not do that. If you ever get in the unfortunate situation where you're in county jail, when you're on a state or federal penitentiary, don't do that. But what you do want to do, and what I was schooled at a very young age, is when you get to a new spot, definitely be sociable. Go up to people, shake their hand, firm, eye contact. I'm Ryan. I'm from Santa Barbara. Try to look hard, but then they're like, hey, man, it's not like a beach town. Like, isn't there like a soap on? Yeah, so what? I pimp bitches. Nice to meet you. I conspire to distribute heroin. What up? You always got to like have this confident. You have to have this air of confidence. It's absolutely required. And I noticed that when I got out of prison, everybody thought that I changed. I mean, I had in a lot of ways. I mean, I went in there like a little boy, came out a man. I did. I'm not the toughest guy in the world, but I'll tell you what. I don't consider myself a bitch, and I don't let people treat me a certain type of way anymore. I just don't, and that can be a good and bad thing. In one sense, Karina feels protected by me. I'm a little midget. I'm 5'6", but she's seen me get down sexually and physically with men, not sexually, but physically in fights and stuff. And the fear goes away, because it's just like with my career, my writing career, right? It was always about fake it till you make it. Fake it. Well, I'm a bestseller. I sold like 30 copies. I'm a bestseller. Started wearing aviators. Fuck. I don't know where my aviators are. Oh, I'm a novelist. Hey. Hi. A novelist? With all those tattoos, I thought you were illiterate. And fake it till you make it. And then ultimately, you make it. That's it. How many people out there have a creative profession, whether that be music, painting, writing, whatever, and that's all they do? At what point is it a hobby, and at what point is it an actual career? When it's a career, you're making enough to support yourself and your family off your craft, and that's where I'm at now, thankfully. And undoubtedly, it couldn't have happened without the support of all of you, and I'm eternally grateful for that. But before, I was in a position where I could, make my own schedule, and I, just sold a screenplay. Some other big shit just happened. I can't wait to tell you about big shit. Fake it till you make it, and I suggest that for everyone. It's not about being dishonest. It's, if you make believe for long enough, it starts to manifest into reality. It's the same concept in prison. It's the same thing as you act tough because you have to. You can't be perceived as not tough in prison. That, then you're a bitch. And that's just like, it's black and white like that in prison. It's like you're either a solid guy or you're a bitch. And if you're a bitch, you get treated accordingly. And yeah, I wasn't a tough guy going in there, and I got beat up a bunch of times, but eventually people didn't, looked at me like I was not a bitch, like, I mean, I have the same irritants, arrogant guy, kind of a clown, but I'll go, try me and we're going, we're going heads up, and it's what needs to be fucking done. And that's it. Point is when you get to a new facility, you want to be sociable. You want to show that air of confidence, that tough guy thing. And eventually, if you're not a tough guy, you play the part for long enough, you become one. It's a fact with anything in life. You want to get to a new place. You want to sit back and you want to watch how it operates. You make your introductions, and then the most seasoned convicts, which is what I would consider myself, just kind of sit back and see how things work. Now, I got jumped at Santa Barbara County Jail by a bunch of little, bush tweakers. What are those guys doing tonight? I'd love to know. I really would. I'd like to know what they're doing tonight. I'm going to come back to that in a second, because there's something I forgot to mention about those guys. But in that particular situation, I was going through a mental breakdown, and I was dope sick. So all that shit that I just said goes out the window. I go, "Oh, you guys have dope? What's up? Oh, I'll suck someone's dick." Peckerwood shit. Oh, what up, fool? You don't do that. I got right in the mix, and that's not what you do. But in San Bernardino, I wasn't crazy anymore. Karina had helped me come out of it. I'd experienced that white light pain threshold thing that I talked about, where I was kicking and my ribs fucking hurt, and I was all alone, and I didn't have a phone, and I was crying, and everything kind of got put into perspective. Hey, I'm not special. I'm not going viral. I tried so hard to make it all work for my kids' sake, because I didn't know how long I was going to be gone, and I did what I had to do to try to make it before I got in, regardless of how that affected people around me. And I regret it now. You know, I burned a couple bridges. Zach Warren is one of them. You know, I regret that. Jerry Stahl, I regret that. You know, and I would take those guys into my life with open arms for sure. But the second time when I got to San Bernardino County Jail, I mean, the first day that I was there, I saw these two Pisces fighting, and it was a brutal, brutal fucking fight. You know, it's like flipping through television and seeing some shit on HBO where it's just some brutal ass fight, you know, and you're like, whoa, that's violent. I'm going to watch this. Then your chick's like, I'm horny. And you're like, all right, fuck, turn it off. Let's fuck. Okay. But it was really violent, you know, and of course, you know, throughout the years, I've been desensitized to that. Violence doesn't affect me the way it used to. And that's why when things happen in the world, you turn on the TV and, you know, I don't watch TV, but I'm just saying hypothetically, and, you know, you're seeing looting, rioting, all the shit that's going on right now. You know, you understand that on a human level, what the fuck's going on. And a lot of people are insulated, have no idea what's going on. Oh, those guys are mean. They're destroying innocent people's property. They have no right to be upset. Really? Well, you know, the thing is people have every fucking right to be upset because police are out there like legal gangs slaughtering people. So they have every right to be upset, you know? And when I got to San Bernardino County Jail and I saw that act of violence, it was like, oh, okay. Jail shit. Going back to sleep. Maybe catch a casual beat-off session in the knee-raised tent that I can erect. And I kind of just slept for a few days. And you see that all the time in jail. I mean, you see people that are coming off a crystal meth run. They just get there and they're like, hey, man, what's up? I'm Philip. Oh, dude, I'm in here for stealing bicycles. Oh, fuck. And then they pass out for like a month. Like they wake up and they have like a beard. They're like, have like a British accent. And you're like, what the fuck? They're like, how you doing, mate? And you're like, what the fuck's going on with you? Wow. Don't do drugs, you know? And then you see people now, you know, when I was growing up, I act like I'm old, like 34, I'm to be 35. I'm not that fucking old, but when I was growing up, it was cocaine and heroin. That was the thing. Or at least in Santa Barbara. I mean, I came from like a spoiled rich person town. So those were the drugs that people did. You know, we did blow and we shot heroin. Usually together, you know. There's nothing social about it, that's for fucking sure. I've never been like a social coke guy. You know, I've talked about it a million times. You snort blow and you're like, yo, dude. And then I wanted to, you know, grow up and be a professional clay molder. Have my art shown in Sicily, if you know what I'm talking about. Oh, pass the tutor. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, clay's pretty bomb, yeah. Yeah, shit like that. I never liked that. I never liked drunk people either. Nowadays you see people and they're doing crystal meth and they're doing heroin. So people come into jail, and that's what they call them goofballs. You know, shoot heroin and meth, and I never liked it. It's like a staticky, gross feeling. They come in and they're like, "Hey, dog, I'm fucking kicking my Leos, dog. I'm fucking sick, pero fucking sick." And then they go to sleep for a week. You're not sick. Thank God you were up for a week before you came in because you get to sleep it off. And, you know, jail gives you a certain depression. You know, that's why people overeat. That's why people go in there emaciated, come out with dad bods. You know, you see that all the time. Yeah, fool, I just did time. You're like, damn, how'd you get so fat? Oh, fuck, fool. I don't know, fool. I was doing burpees. I was doing like 123 a day. Yeah, it's trippy. I know. I should be more ripped. I don't know. And so, how do you say? Oh, yeah, supplements, kind of? Yeah. So it's like the same thing, you know, going into San Bernardino County Jail. I'm depressed. My ribs hurt. At that place, you'd have to go to a chow hall. We talked about that at the end of the last video. you sit, you look forward, and you can't talk, and cops talk shit to you, and then you go. You have to go up this escalator, and then you go back into your unit. And it was predominantly Pisces. There were a few white guys that weren't very friendly, and there were a few Southsiders that were like not real Southsiders. You know, it's like they're from like exotic locales. Yeah, what's up, dog? I'm Baby Ewok from Bahamas. Was that a neighborhood? No, no. Like the Caribbean type shit. Baby Ewok. Baby Ewok from the Bahamas. You've never heard of me? No, I haven't. Maybe if I was reading like a traveling brochure or something. Oh, oh yeah, you could, because I'm from the Bahamas. Hey man, you're pretty funny for a white dude, man. They talk like a Jamaican tourist or something, it's weird shit. So I'm depressed. I would get out of bed periodically and I would go call Karina. And at this point, she's probably a month or two away from, the due date. I think Nico is due the end of March. And, he was born April 9th. And I remember what happened April 9th. I was in a riot at this place, San Bernardino County Jail, on the day he was born. Full-blown first riot I've ever been in. But we'll get to that. But, so we were like at that point where she really needed support. Now, the good thing about San Bernardino County Jail is that the phone calls were 20 minutes long, which is nice. I mean, usually they're 15 at most jails. They were 20 there. I think they were like $5 a call, but we didn't care. I had royalty money and she was living with her parents. So all of that would go to like commissary and the phone. And then I had a lot of other people looking out for me. Jim Oles was looking out, Nick Stahl, all those people, and my parents were looking out. And the commissary, like I said, was phenomenal. And so was the phone service. 20 minutes is cool. Now, the way that the and the guy that ran it for the Pices, his name was Lewis, bald guy. He'd been to state prison, just got a Fed case. Remember, I told you this R tank, or was it J tank? It was like, see, I always get them mixed up because at Lompoc, I think I was in J. When I was there with Big Meech on the violation. I don't remember. I don't know. RJ. It was either R. I think it was R tank. It was R tank. Yeah, I was in R tank, and so it was mostly guys that were waiting to catch a Fed case. They'd been indicted federally, and they didn't have room for them at MDCLA, or they were mad at them because they threw their apple on the ground like I did. And, this is where they would send them as some sort of like punishment purgatory, because it sucked. I mean, not 2-man cells, violent, filthy, flooded with drugs, as you'll find out soon. That was cool, but besides that, it was a really shitty place to do time. You're in this dorm. It's loud, fights all the time. It's crazy, the amount of fights. I mean, I felt like I was at some boarding school, with a bunch of racially divided gangs. It was like that. And so I kind of just, would crawl out of bed, go talk to Karina for 20 minutes. And I had to force it. I wanted to talk to her, but my ribs hurt. And standing up on the phone just hurt. But like I was deprived from the phone before I got there, so I was really happy. So I really sat back and observed everything. So, the white guys at that time were just a bunch of jokesters. This guy comes in, he's white, and he'd been to jail a couple times, and he comes up to me, and I'm in bed. I kind of like, sit up. I'm like, hey man, I'd stand, my ribs are fucked up. I'm Ryan, and I forget what his name was, but he asked me who the rep was for the Woods, and I was like, oh, I don't know. It's not really like that. He's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Like, well, there's got to be a rep. And I was like, well, I'm the rep. Huh. Wish I never said that, If I could take that back, I would, from everything that's about to go on because of that. I never, when I was at MDCLA, I talked about there was one point where Boots was my cellie. He was this skinhead from San Pedro. Cool ass motherfucker. It's the guy that I took the shank beef for, just because he was looking at real time, and I was like, yeah, fuck, I'd already been sent, whatever, and that really negatively affected me long term because I could never really get to like nice low security prisons. I was always at kind of like rocking and rolling spots. Oxford still was a medium security prison. There were still bad people there, violent people, because that's one of the prerequisites for the higher security places, medium and up, is that you have violence on your record, and getting caught with an in-house weapon like that is considered violent. And then, I'd gotten in a fight, and, so when I was at MDCLA, at a certain point, they had divided up, because Boots was a skinhead. So he was calling it for the skinheads. But then Peckerwoods kind of are under their own set of rules. And so he had given me the keys, so to speak, as the unit rep, but way back when I was 12, I'd never even been to prison yet. And I remember, like, I called our first white meeting, and, there were weirdos for sure at this spot. The feds, especially when you're fighting your case. See, the Chomos, they don't really make it to medium security prisons as much. It's a little bit. USPs hardly ever. There's one in Tucson that they send them to. And there's Coleman 2 or 1. Don't have me misquote that, but one of the Colemans in Florida, they send some sex offenders and high-level check-in, shit like that. But at MDCLA, when you're fighting a case, oh yeah, there's weirdos, yeah, and you'll like go up to someone and be like, "Hey man, what are you in here for?" Oh, my attorney told me not to tell anybody because I might get beat up. Make some Bill Cosby face. The fuck is that kind of shit, And I remember what I got when Boots had given me the keys or whatever. I called a white meeting, and I was like, all right. I power went to my head. I was unit rep for 10 minutes, and I was planning like Peckerwood banquets and shit. And I was like, all right, guys, everybody listen up. I'm going to do a paperwork sweep tomorrow at 0600 hours. And if there's any fucking weirdos in here, we're going to fucking murder you. You hear someone in the back. Wow, that guy sounds like he was molested when he was younger. I'm like, hey, shut up. Make you do push-ups, bitch. And the next day, a bunch of people checked in. Weirdos. They're like, damn, all the dudes that look like Chomos checked in. They were all Chomos. That's funny. So now I'm, at this place, and this guy had asked me who the rep was, and I said there wasn't, and then I just took on the role, and from that point forward, now I was running our tank at San Bernardino County Jail. And I was like the seasoned I'm the one that had done Fed time. I was like the only one in this whole unit. They're probably like 100 guys, right? And I was like the only one that had actually done Fed time before. Hold on, blowing my nose. Sorry. Quick Wellbutrin intermission. Oh shit. All right. Feel like a new guy. So, there are about 100 guys. Now, this guy Lewis that was running it for the Pies, he was cool. He's cool. It was like, he anytime a black guy would come in, and he'd look at me and be like, I'm like, hey, don't do that. Lazy is doing that. That's not good. Eventually, me and him would be like making the call to, go at it with the black dudes later. We'll get to that. But him and I became really close. He was a good guy. He treated me better than the other white guys did. That's for sure. And he was a Paisa, and he was the Paisa shot caller. And, a lot of people would come and ask me questions. I became this like de facto, jailhouse attorney, and people would be asking me questions about their cases. And I hate it when people do that, because people would be like, how much time do you think I'm going to do? I don't know. I mean, you got caught with 75 pounds of crystal meth, you're probably doing life. But if I get the drug program, they take a year off. No? Yeah, but that doesn't matter if you're doing life. A year is a year, pero. I'm like, okay. All right. Anyone else? Yeah, what about me? I got caught with 700 pounds of meth. I'm like, oh, you're good. You get probation. Oh, that's why I fucks with you, Leone. So I'm doing this for a while, and this white guy came in, and he like I said, he'd been to jail before, and so now I was the rep. It's annoying because now every single day they would come to me with rep problems, and I was not really into it. I don't even know why I did that. And it's just, I guess this white guy came in and I wanted it to look like we weren't a bunch of lops like we were before that guy came in. And I guess I was just trying to, I mean, prison's a fake culture, jail's a fake culture. I guess I was just trying to make it seem like we were on some real Peckerwood shit. And so these problems start coming. Example, bring people in at all random times of the night. They bring a black guy in. Black guy, there's only one bunk open. There's a white guy on the bottom bunk. The only place that the black guy can go is on the top bunk. Now, let me preface this with saying, as I always say, I can't stand racist people. If you're racist, if you really are to your core, you should just unsubscribe now. Because it's just not my thing. It's not my bag, baby. I just don't like it. I don't like racist people. I don't like homophobic people. I don't like any of that kind of shit. I hate a whole bunch of black people, but I also hate a whole bunch of white people. I hate a whole bunch of Mexican people. None of that shit has anything to do with who they're fucking or what color their skin is. It's because of them. And I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and that's how I think everybody should view the world. And I'm not trying to push my ideals on other people, but that's at least how I am. With that being said, I'm in a position now where I'm a jock caller, and a lot of that has to do with rank. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I'd actually been to the feds a couple 5 years and then another 3 months on a little violation. So this black guy comes in the middle of the night. I'm sleeping. They wake me up and they go, yo, Leone. I was like, what's up? This black dude needs to go on the top bunk with the white dude below him. That can be perceived as not a good thing. We just wanted to run it by you. If you're cool with it, we're cool with it. This is the Paisa saying it to me. And the black guys didn't even really have a rep. And there weren't even enough black guys there at the time for there to even be one. There was one guy, two, I think. And they were always playing chess with the little chess caps on. They didn't fuck with anyone. They were cool. And I had to make a really bad decision. And I said, yeah, he can't sleep on the top bunk. Sorry. What do you mean? We can't allow that to happen. It pains me to have to make those kind of racist decisions. It has nothing to do with the fact that he was black and that I had any issue with that. It had to do with the fact that I was on my way to prison. Now I was the rep. So I was held to a whole different set of standards. And yes, at the time, climate was cool. Not a bunch of legitimate hardened convicts there, but that could change in an instant. Now, imagine this. Some crazy skinhead guys come in a couple days later. They see the white guys are on bottom bunks, black guys are on top bunks, bunking up together. Who's that on? Me. And you know what happens to me? I get my head stomped in, and that's the reality of jail. And if you've ever done time in California, you know this to be true. But still making those kind of decisions was tough for me. It was real, real tough. And so I had to put my foot down and say no. And I had to see the face of the black guy, probably with the same, here I am getting untreated by this little fucking midget white guy. And it's not that big a deal because it seems silly, but it is a big deal because if I had allowed that to happen, it's a liability not just for me, for everyone in there. Who's to say that 10 skinheads aren't going to come in the next day and see that? And every single white guy in there is going to get fucked off. Those are the kind of decisions you have to make when you're running a unit. And it was horrible to see the look in his eyes, because he looked at me like I was a racist piece of shit. If he only knew, like, hey, brother, I voted for Obama. That's not going to fucking fly with him. I'm not racist at all, never have been. You know, my wife's Mexican. My boy's half Mexican. Can't stand. I always make fun of illiterate skinheads, you know? Hey, dude, look at my new swastika tattoo. It's fucking, this shit's dope, fool. Yeah. The bitches. I'm doing it for the bitches. Fuck that, you know? So I had him do stuff like that. And black guy's just like, yeah, man, you know, and he's cool. I understand, you know? It's nothing. I was like, look, and I said, hey, it's nothing personal. And I explained, and he's like, that makes sense. And I'm like, you know, I'd rather give you my bunk than have you bunk up with a white. I'd rather sleep on the floor to prevent problems. So I offered that to him, and you know, he said no. And him and I actually became really good friends after that. But it was just, you know, that's just one of many examples of uncomfortable, you know, position that I was put in for that. So once I'd been in federal custody, now I'm running this unit, and it was pretty lackluster in the beginning, you know, and that's just how jail is. The climate changes with the snap of the fingers. One minute, everything's cool, kicked back. The next minute, all hell is breaking loose, and there's full on riots, which is what happened right in this unit that I'm talking about. Just within like 30 days, that whole fucking thing would go up. 60-man riot, you know? And of course I'm front and center because I was the rep, you know, and it was a white black Paisa thing. What Paisa in whites versus the blacks, and they had numbers by that point. It was, yeah, it was rough. I got hurt. Shit was crazy, but yeah, we will get into that one in full detail. So now that I was in federal custody, I was kind of getting the swing of things. I'm talking to Karina. I go to commissary a couple times. I'm stocked up. You know, I made a kitty so that every time a white dude came in, gave him a fucking fat bag of stuff. Oh, hey man, I'll pay you back. My baby mama gets. Don't even trip. I got it. Don't worry about it. You know, made, if you were white, you had to work out. I had broken ribs, and I still would like try to do like little exercises. Um, you know, I would do plyometrics, isometrics. I'd kind of like try to do like dips on my bunk, but it would be so excruciating that I really just couldn't do it. But it wasn't really about that. It was just showing the guys that even though I was injured, that I was still down like that. You know, it's important to lead by example. And I did, and I got in fights and all sorts of shit at that unit. Once I was there, probably there about a week, they brought me to federal court, you know, for to go. I don't remember what the reason was. Oh yeah, I remember. So that day that I'd gone, remember I told you I got extradited from Santa Barbara County Jail, and they took me to and I remember the thing about those guys. I'll get to that at the end of the video, though, if I remember. If I don't remember, remind me about the bush dwelling dudes. When I'd gone to court on that first appearance, you know, they had to put me back on calendar for something. So this was just kind of like an arraignment type of thing, you know. I had to come back. About a week later, I went back, and they woke me up early in the morning. Ribs are killing me, you know. I shuffled down to the to the holding tanks where they'd initially brought me, and I was just by myself, and I thought that was odd. And you know, usually you're getting on this big like bus, and in San Bernardino County Jail, they like, you know, they like cuff you to your sides, like this, you know, like they cuff you, like, if you can understand what I'm saying, like your hands are out like that. It's super uncomfortable, especially if you have broken ribs. But I was by myself and the bus wasn't coming. And I asked the guards, I'm like, hey, how come there's no bus? And they're like, oh, you're getting a private escort in a van. I was like, why? They're like, oh, because we're bringing some high profile guys. And I was like, okay. So I had no idea what that meant. And I was like, okay, don't know what that means. So I'm just kind of by myself. I probably got some sleep. I mean, I don't really remember. And then they put me on the van. And so at San Bernardino County Jail, I forget what you wear for the normal clothes. I want to say it's blue. There's like a few colors. If you're GP, it's blue. If you're PC, it's green. It's green, I think, or brown. I don't know. I remember that everyone would be like, look, they're the same colors as a piece of shit. So it was like green or brown or something. And then if you were like high profile, like high power, is that what they called it? You wore red. So they escorted me out to the van. I was by myself. It's cold as fuck in there. Sit down. I look out the window and there's 3 Mexican dudes in red together and walking towards the van. I'm looking at them. I know. And I'm like, what does red mean? They're like, high profile, high power. I'm like, oh, all right. So like they get in the van. And so I'm separate. I'm in the front. There's like 4 rows and they put every single there's like 4 caged rows and each person is in their own row. So I'm in my own row and they put one of the guys behind me, another row and another row. No idea who these guys are. Mexican guys. One of them blasted up and I'm looking and I see a big black hand on his fucking neck. MA, Mexican Mafia, which I had some experience around a guy like that, even though I don't know if it was real. I think he may not have been. This guy was definitely real. Real big homie. Both of the other guys, one of them was kind of like short, pudgier. One of them was tall. Those guys look clean cut. The guy right behind me had the black hand tattoo. He looked like a blasted essay. He had a black hand with an M in the middle. I was like, oh shit. All right. Fuck it. What am I supposed to do? Oh, I'm a talkative guy. I go, hey, what's up? I'm Ryan. Hey. Super unfriendly. Right? What's your name? I don't want to say what his name is, or what their names were. I remember, but I don't really want to say. And they told me their names. I'm like, where are you from? They're from parts of LA. And we just started talking. And they told me that they were the big homies. I was like, playing dumb. I was like, really? Well, nice to meet you, big homies. And this broke the ice. They start laughing, because like, who the fuck who talks to guys like that? They're like the Mexican Mafia guys. And they're telling me about how, they had been indicted for shit in jail. They had what was called secretaries, people that would do stuff for them on the street. Usually women that, whose husband was in prison for like 30 years. They were used to being alone and like doing prison favors. I'd have Karina do stuff. Hey, can you call this person's girl? Can you call this person's dad? Tell him to send money. Can you do this, and that? And she was very good about that. Well, their secretaries were like that, but they did it like on a bigger level, and then they would launder money and all sorts of shit. Organizations like the MA and these guys, like they need stuff like that because they control money on the street and they do stuff like that. So basically they had been indicted for, smuggling contraband in on like a big level, cell phones, pounds of drugs. Secretaries were getting indicted for money laundering. It was actually one of the biggest Mexican mafia sweeps in the country's history. This was spring of 2018. So you can Google that. They were being held at San Bernardino County Jail. They're actually at MDCLA before that. And, we start talking. And ironically, the guy that's sitting right next to me with the tattoo on his neck was the guy that I'd blessed with tobacco a couple years before in a violation, and he remembered, and we were talking about it, and like that instantly, like he was happy and very appreciative and very cool. And at first I was a little nervous because I'm with like 3 super high ranking dudes from the MA. But then, we started cracking jokes and we just talked the whole time. We were talking about, just whatever, and kind of forget like who they are and how much power they have. And, people are like, well, don't put those kind of guys on a pedestal. They're not on shit. They're all locked up. Okay. Those guys can make things happen like that. Kill him and he's dead. Kill him and turn yourself in, and then slit your throat right as you're getting arrested. One honey, sign me up. Everyone wants to. These are what like the Soreños idolize. These are the big homies. Whatever. So we end up getting to, and I'm telling them about my shit, pimping and pandering, and they're like, "Is that right? Oh, is that right? Whoa," shit like that. I was like, okay. So then we get to court, and they don't put them in the same tank with me, but they go and they separate those guys everywhere. They're not even like allowed to have contact with each other. They just put them in like isolation units and stuff. So I didn't get to see them the rest of the day. I ended up seeing them at the end of the day, but throughout the court thing, I didn't see them anymore. There were guys in there, and of course, like I'm one of those guys that as soon as I get in a tank, I don't shut the fuck up. I'm just talk. Usually people are happy I'm talking because they're so bored, and I'm just telling them all sorts of crazy shit about getting jumped by like bush dwellers. And let me get to that so that I don't forget. So when I was in that front central like weird area of the jail, it kind of like made like a makeshift cell for me. Refused to house and shit. They they had brought me property, from, and I can't believe I didn't tell you guys this. They brought me property from where I gotten jumped. My blankets in my property bin, and remember they'd stolen my commissary, but they did leave one single serving pack of hot chocolate, which I was pretty upset with how they did me, but I'm going to be honest, I was pretty touched that they at least thought of me that way. They probably forgot about it. Pieces of shit. So I remember looking at the blanket, and there was all these like brown stains on it, and I'm sick as fuck, and I'm like, oh my God, that's probably heroin. Because I was doing the calitos, shit going up my nose. Probably why my nose just perpetually leaks. It's the most annoying fucking shit ever. I'm like at the DMV, and the lady's like, are you on cocaine? I'm like, no. It's a funny thing to ask, though. Jeez. Do I look like I'm on cocaine? Well, actually, yes. Oh, shit. No, I'm not. I'm not. Promise. If I do cocaine, you guys will never see me again. I'll be in, the Bahamas with Baby Ewok, renting sea-doos to other, exotic Southsiders and shit. So when I was in the hole, I start cutting pieces of this blanket, because there's just like these little, I had like a razor, all convict knows how to break a plastic razor open and use the razor to like cut like little holes, in this is when I had the phone with the black dude with the phone in a cell in front of me, and just start cutting up pieces of the blanket, sucking on it. Now it's salty, it's sweet, bitter, so it could be coffee or it could be heroin, but in my mind I'm getting well, so I just keep eating these filthy blankets that have been like dragged through the dirty floors of the jail, and I don't even give a fuck. I'm eating these little pieces, like I'll cut out a piece of the blanket, it'll be like this big, and I'll put it in my mouth and just like try to suck the heroin juices out of it because I'm convinced that they're on there. Sorry, my cell phone's getting blown up. Okay, so I remember like the guy ahead of me was watching me and he's just like, "What are you doing, man?" I'm like, "I'm eating the blanket. There's heroin on it. I swear to God." He's like, "Well, all right. You do what you got to do." I was like, "Yeah." I'm eating it. Like pretty soon I ended up eating the whole blanket. Once I was convinced there was heroin and I like cut it up into little pieces and ate it. It was ridiculous. It was a truth story. But what I also found after all that is I looked in my property bin and I found a piece of paper from one of the guys that had jumped me, and it had his real name. He lived in like Carpinteria, and had like his mom's contact information. If I was a real piece of shit, I would have sent that out to some of my homeboys and had them go over and beat him up. I have plenty of friends in Santa Barbara that would definitely do that, but I'm really not cut like that. It's like whatever. Karma will get those guys. And I'm reading this piece of paper, and the guy was writing a letter to God, and he said, "Dear God, please help me and my family. It's so impossible for us to catch a break, and we're so hungry all the time. And this is a guy that jumped me, and I'm feeling bad for him. I really love my kids. Please help me make better decisions. I just want to be a good parent." And I'm like reading it, and I'm like, man, that's for a second I gave a fuck, but then I was like, you kind of get what you put into the universe, you know. Um, the guy was given like free drugs too, feeding, smashed me out, crumpled it up. I was like, fuck your life, you know. I just remember that, and the reason I was thinking of it is it was interesting to read that after getting jumped by these people, and it's I'm at a point in my life where a lot of good stuff's been happening to me lately. A lot. I'm trying really hard to be a good guy, help a lot of people. The Narcan thing is one of them. Paying back a lot of old debts from a long time ago that people like probably wrote off, and I'm just like kind of PayPaling a bunch of random fucking people, and hey, I got it now, so here you go, that kind of thing. It makes me feel good. It makes me okay with the person that I'm looking back at when I look into the mirror, and it's the thing with these guys, and this is the point of it all, is that you get what you put in, you know? When you do good things start happening to you. When you do bad things, you're going to be stuck in that hell that apparently he was living in, and if you're watching this, um, you're a bitch. Okay, now that that's out of the way, it's really simple. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. When I extend kindness and that's not extended back to me, and you guys actually turn on me, jump me, you can't expect your life to be good ever. It never will be, because you'll never feel good about yourself, and you can't heal. That's what karma is balancing the shit out. Well, Ryan started smoking pot again. Sorry to get so philosophical. My mom has been sick, and I'm just kind of in that kind of mood, where I'm just kind of like thinking about everything. But so I went to court and saw my attorney, and he, I got arraigned, and we put it on calendar. It was going to be like, I don't remember, March 20th or some shit, right around the time that Nico was expected. And that's the point that he had given me the probation violation. They were recommending 3 years. That was their latest thing. So if the judge went along with that recommendation, I'd have to do 3 years. And by the time I was done with it, it would have counted as my whole state case would have been eaten up by that time. But I would have been gone for 3 years, and I'd only been incarcerated for about 4 months. And I remember it kind of just hit me, the reality of it. I had this like delusion that I was going to go be able to be with my baby and with Karina. And, a year and a half I can deal with. Shit, 3 years I can deal with too. But, it's like getting hit in the face with a brick. That's what it felt like. I just couldn't believe, they knew that I was in a state of mental duress, of emotional duress, mental psychosis. Somebody had commented recently somewhere, and they're like, "This guy, he blames it all on the authorities. Oh, you can't take responsibility. I'm a bitch." Yes, you are. Everything illegal that I've ever done, I've done. I've always owned up to it. I've never put anyone in jail. I never will. But the way that I've been treated by the police, the way that this country is treated by police in general, the way that you are dehumanized in jails and prisons is not okay. It's not okay to treat somebody because they have made mistakes in a condition that doesn't warrant, or in a condition that's not equal to the mistakes that they made. You know, being a drug addict shouldn't land you in solitary confinement in prison. You know, if you're a drug addict using drugs in prison, you're obviously fucked up inside. That's not making it any better. So don't, misconstrue what I'm saying. It's not like that. I would just like to see things change, you know, both in the way that the police us and the way that people are treated once they're incarcerated and in custody. It should be about rehabilitation and not just warehousing nonviolent drug offenders with root beer barrel sized cocks. Right here. Anyway, going through personal shit, and I'm really just trying to trudge through. You know, you guys are my income, and but it's hard because I don't really feel like doing videos. But I know that it means something to someone, so I'll keep making them. Press like, comment, subscribe. Check out patreon.com/Ryan Leone if you haven't already. There's exclusive stuff on there. And definitely check out the Narcan Project.com. We're getting a lot of money into that now. And we're going to be able to do everything that I said that we've been able to do. With me, I do the things I say always. It just takes me longer than it should. I should just, as someone has pointed out, I should just do and not say that I'm going to do. And then nobody will be disappointed. Appreciate you guys very much. Stay safe out there. Palabra.